about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I love football, no secret there, and I'm really starting to get into college football. I had a lot of fun this weekend. Yeah, I did some work, didn't do as much work as I should have, but I watched football. And I played around with my little sports app. I actually did okay. In terms of, I was ahead this weekend in terms of my bets. Dallas did. Well, in fact, Dallas was the underdog. I think it was a plus 280 in terms of the odds. And so I bet on Dallas yesterday. Now, because they tied, they went to double overtime. It ended up being a push. But I would have made, I think I would have made 2.5 on that. That was pretty... I was pretty excited about that bet, and I made on the over. So I had a good, shall we say, sports betting weekend. But when I'm looking at this, and we've spoken about this on air before, I'm really nervous about those individuals who don't have control or who have an addictive personality or have that potential to become addicted, because the way these sports betting apps work now is, you used to have to go to the sports book. So you actually had to get your butt to either a bookie or to the casino to place your bet. You would stand in line, and on Super Bowl, you could be in line for hours. You would have to put your bet in before the game, and then that's it. And there might have been wagers that people would do in the parties, where you do your grid, and okay, well, these are, this is the score after the first quarter, who had 0 and 3, and so yeah, there in-game betting was a thing, but it wasn't as easy to do now because of these apps. Same day parlay. There's so many opportunities for people to put bets, which means there's all these opportunities for you to lose money. And you could very easily drop hundreds on a single game. And how they manipulate you is you're watching, and this isn't just football. This could be hockey. This could be basketball. They use algorithms that'll change the odds. So let's say somebody has a good possession. They're doing a good drive. You'll see the odds change after every drive or after every basket or after every timeout. And you're looking at the over/under, and you're trying to chase it. You're like, okay, well, looks like this other team might be winning, so I want to hedge my bet, so I'm going to throw more money into it. And you could be very easily dropping hundreds of dollars on a single game, and nothing's stopping you. Now, these apps try to do a warning saying, look, proceed with caution. They might give certain warnings, but the truth of the matter is the dopamine and your addictive centers in your brain that start to kick in, because you're ahead or you think you're winning money. I grew up with gamblers. It's frightening, the priorities they give that. And it's because we have a society that idolizes money. So when somebody wins money for nothing, right? Get your money for nothing or your chicks for free. Right? When people get money for doing nothing, it's addictive. I've even heard doctors say, this could be a second income where they're making money betting. And not everybody lives in a casino town. I live in Nevada, so I've been surrounded by casinos most of my life. But you actually have people convinced that their gambling can be income. Now, people do win money. There are people who are career poker players. But if you're not lucky, like me, I'm not very lucky, and if you don't really understand that the house always wins, everybody, they write books and like, well, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. I'm telling you, the majority of people will lose. You need to be very careful. And now that these sports apps have changed to make it so easy, I mean, you put money in the account, and some people can actually hook it up to their debit card, or so, I don't know what they're doing, and they could go broke. And you need to be careful if you're living with somebody who is spending like that. Because, look, I love sports and I love watching the game, but I don't bet on everything. You couldn't afford that. But there are individuals that say, well, I'm watching it, so I might as well put some skin in the game. And it's very addictive. You need to learn how to stop. Now, one thing to do is just not watch the game. Now, the Penn State game, the whiteout, it was fascinating to see that, but it was a boring game. I mean, it was like, 3-3 for the longest time? It was a boring game. Do something else. I know people feel like, well, I got to watch a game. You don't have to watch a whole 3-hour game. Do other things. Right? And come up with other ways to reward yourself. Our dopamine knows how to run us, whether it's our food. I mean, one of the reasons why we have obesity is because of our addiction to food and our addiction to sugar. If you could break that addiction, you could very easily become slim, although many of us then get addicted to working out, where we have to have our workout. If we don't have our workout, we get grumpy. That's what happened to me, where I was like, if I don't get my workout, I can't sleep. I can't. And so I would be working out at 2 a.m. just to get it done. So it's got to be in moderation. But, football season is one of my favorite seasons of the year. And now you got Monday Night Football. You'll get college. You have Thursday Night Football for NFL. You got college games on Friday and Saturday. You got then NFL back on Sunday. There's a lot of potential for people. And now hockey's back. And you got Major League Baseball. Know your limits. Okay, I don't care if you gamble. But if you have that type of personality where you win once and you keep trying to chase that, you're going to lose. The best way to win at gambling is to not gamble. That's what everybody always tells you, and they're not wrong. Okay? And just, watch out for that, because these apps and these casinos are designed for them to make money, not for you to get a payday. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Okay, so a common question I get, and I'm honored that you all think that I could give sound economic advice, but a big question I keep getting asked is, what pharmaceutical stocks should we be investing in? How do you make money in pharmaceutical stocks? You saw Eli Lilly skyrocket and then go down, and then you have Johnson & Johnson going back and forth depending on what happens with Tylenol. And so in my experience, all right, with the stock market, and I am not a financial guru, okay? This show is not, I'm no Dave Ramsey or, Bob Brinker, or that's not what this show is. But as a physician who reads a lot of these studies and, reads a lot of these clinical trials and here's, well, this medicine coming around the bend, this is coming around the bend, I have, dabbled a little bit. My stock market experience started when I was in residency because I didn't know anything about it, but you had a very small retirement account. And then when I went to business for myself, I didn't have one, which is why we really haven't saved for retirement like we should have. And with the retirement account, they would talk to us about, you guys know more about this than I do. You got your fixed income, and then you have your mutual funds, and then you have the more volatile and more higher risk investments versus whatever. And it's the 90s, and I'm in training, and Viagra comes out. Pfizer launches Viagra. They also had the Z-Pack. They had Zoloft and Zyrtec and all these, and Cadowit and Lipitor. So I'm like, well, I'm going to buy some Pfizer stock. Now, for me, when I buy stock, we're talking change like in your pocket. Okay, I'm not talking about buying. I'm talking about a few shares. Okay, I'm not very risk taking. And Pfizer stock went up. They actually had, I think, a 3-way split. And I probably maybe made $100 on my stock. For me, that was big money. But I learned very early on that I don't have the time to study it. I have to deal with patients. I have to learn medicine. I have to do residency. I have to have kids. I have to, start a practice. And so I learned early on that if you are going to be diving into the stock market, your mutual funds you could leave and let cook, your CDs, your bonds. But if you're doing the stock market, you got to do your research. And then you need to know when to buy and when to sell. And the pharmaceutical industry is also a very volatile one. And your stock, it basically goes up and down based on subjectivity. How does the market, how do investors feel? So when you get this press release from a pharmaceutical company saying, hey, we're working on a drug that cures cancer, you might see a little bump. But if investors are like, well, how many other companies are doing that? Well, where are they in the clinical trial? What are real investors? Well, real investors don't always follow real investors because they could make mistakes. Don't do your own homework. But just because somebody, shoots out a press release doesn't necessarily mean that stock is going to stay strong. And so these drug companies, these pharmaceutical companies, they go up and down, up and down. Eli Lilly went up and then it went down, and Eli Lilly does Zepbound. I mean, Zepbound sales are at an all-time high. Well, is it because they tried another drug and maybe the clinical trial didn't show as promising results? I mean, I remember the Pfizer stock when the COVID shot came out. I don't think the Pfizer stock jumped as high as you would have thought. And so I don't usually recommend to you all to do, I mean, for me, I like my NVIDIA. I've been noticing my Tesla's going up. Now that Elon Musk left Doge and went back to his companies, you're noticing Tesla stock is going up. Roblox, GE Vernova, I noticed that's gone up. Meta. My biggest positions are in NVIDIA and Meta and some of the aerospace stocks, but not the pharmaceuticals. I just don't have time to read all the clinical trials. The other thing, too, you have to understand is once it makes the news, you're kind of already a little too late. So if you are really, really, into stocks, and what I would recommend you do is, one, look at what there's a need for, and then look at what the companies are doing, and follow what they're doing, what they're studying. And one thing you have to understand is like Novavax. Novavax was working on a COVID vaccine, and a very popular type of COVID vaccine where it was the protein particles as opposed to the mRNA. And so Novavax could have just taken the whole COVID vaccine market by storm. But Pfizer and Moderna beat it to the punch. Well, by the time, the U.S. bought Pfizer and Moderna, and then Biden started mandating the shots, Novavax, by the time they got there, didn't get to have that big windfall. Same thing with the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca with their DNA vaccines. AstraZeneca, had some issues overseas. Johnson & Johnson, there were some rare reports of blood clots, side effects. And so America's like, we're not going to do the AstraZeneca vaccine. So it's very volatile because it really depends on sentiment. And when America's like, we're fine, we got Pfizer and Moderna, we'll do some Johnson & Johnson, but we're good. We don't need any more. Those other stocks, even if they beat other companies to the punch, didn't last. So my recommendation is okay, weight loss drugs. There's a lot on the market now, and these companies are trying to come up with oral formulations. They might be so close to coming up with an oral form. Well, do we know what the price is going to be? Well, if the price is going to be expensive or even more so than the shots, then that might not sell. What did the side effects look like? What was the weight loss efficacy? Losing 10% of your body weight is fantastic metabolically and health-wise, but that might be not enough to sell if somebody else is advertising 20% body weight. If there's a bad side effect that a celebrity gets, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, well, why did that celebrity get that side effect? And then they start to link it to that, the stocks could drop. It's to me, it's just not safe. If I have money, I want to know that it's safe. Yeah. That's why I don't always bet on the Cowboys. I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan. But I got to tell you, yesterday, I was really excited about the Cowboys. I was pretty impressed. But so do your research. Understand that even if it's going to phase 3 clinical trial, that doesn't necessarily mean the FDA is going to approve it. A pharmaceutical company could make a drug. They could be working on a drug. You might see a little bump. But if the FDA doesn't approve it, or if the FDA takes its sweet old time in approving it, and then you might buy a stock, and then it go up, and then it drops. You can't hold on to stocks forever. Now, that's my big question that I like to ask financial gurus. How do we know our NVIDIA stock right now is not the Apple of the 80s? How many people had Apple stock and then they sold it? Because people said, well, the stock market's going to crash. You're going to lose it. There was that Black Monday in the 80s. And, and yet if you kept that stock, you would be doing really well right now. And I'm just not good at that. That's why I don't usually give that advice. So don't ask me about which pharmaceutical stocks to invest in. In terms of these new companies, these brand new companies wanting to make a name for itself with a new drug, some of them people are going to make money on, especially if they come up with something new and exciting and then it sells. But many of them aren't. I like Pfizer. I like AstraZeneca. I like that. But do I make a lot of money on those stocks? No. Yeah, and it's because I don't buy a lot of those stocks, and 2, I just don't have the time to research. What I would do if I were you is talk to a financial planner, talk to them about certain mutual funds, talk to them about, I understand people love the stock market because, again, the highs and lows, like today the stock market's up, it's exciting, everybody's dopamine is shooting out, and everyone's amygdala is all happy. Okay, fine, but it you're what money are you putting into the stock market? Is it your retirement? Is it your medical fund? You got to kind of keep in mind that I understand that there are people that do way better than I, in terms of retirement and that, because they take risks. I don't like to take risks. I was in a family of gamblers. They risked, everything. I don't like that. I'm not a risky person. But talk to your financial planner and understand that it's really volatile, these pharmaceutical stocks. And unless you know for sure that the FDA is going to approve something, by the time you hear about it, it's too late. And the stock's already overpriced. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a lot of headlines today. We're being told that there have been some hospitalizations from meals that were sold at Walmart and Trader Joe's that unfortunately have been also linked to 4 deaths. The CDC has issued a health warning over pasta meals sold at Walmart, Trader Joe's, and Kroger after 4 people died and 19 went to the hospital across 15 states. 1 was pregnant and lost her fetus. It was Listeria. Listeria is the bacteria that, if you remember back in 2012, killed multiple people as well as sent many people to the hospital and was linked to cantaloupe. In this case, this has been linked to a beef meatball marijuana linguine and chicken fettuccine Alfredo meal, allegedly from New Jersey headquartered Fresh Realm. They were distributed and sold by retailers across the U.S., according to Daily Mail. They say all of the compromised products have been recalled and are no longer on sale, but who knows how many people have it in their freezer at home. So we don't know how many people could have been impacted from the outbreak. With Listeria, sometimes you don't know you might not, shall we say, have symptoms for weeks. Some individuals may not even feel sick, but others can get high fever, severe headache, meningitis, neck stiffness, nausea, abdominal pain, diarrhea, start to convulse, lose balance as the disease spreads to the nervous system. Now, where did these people die? The deaths occurred in Illinois, Michigan, Texas, and Utah. And the CDC notes that this outbreak may not have been limited just to those states with the known illnesses. So the Department of Agriculture on September 25th had announced that the market-side linguine with beef meatballs and marijuana sauce sold at Walmart stores nationwide were tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes. They're ready-to-eat meals in a 12-ounce tray. So check with your website, check with the USDA, and make sure if you do have it, you get rid of it. Get your money back, throw it out. Trader Joe's stores in California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and Utah could have been affected. See, I like these frozen meals. I mean, maybe it's because TV dinners were so bad that when I see big chunks of chicken, and I see and I don't have time to cook, but I don't have any of those, so I'm pretty happy with that. Those sold under the Marketside brand and Home Chef brand at Walmart and Kroger stores may also be affected. Fresh Realm, the company which manufactured the pasta meal, said tests confirmed the presence of the Listeria monocytogenes in the products. They say we have long maintained that the source of the Listeria was likely an ingredient supplied by a third party. The contaminated ingredient, they believe, the linguine pasta sourced from Nate's Fine Foods of Roseville, California. Look how scary this is. And so definitely check your freezers. And Listeria, what's interesting about that is it's not only meat and dairy, but they could contaminate raw vegetables, fruit. According to the CDC, 1,600 people contract listeriosis every year. 260 people die from that each year. And as I said, it could also affect it could cause miscarriages and pregnant women, stillbirths. So if you are immunocompromised or vulnerable, that could cause you to have severe illness. And what really frustrates me is, we don't really know, what we were exposed to until after somebody gets sick. And then you go back and say, well, I might have had that weeks ago. What made the Listeria outbreak, and I believe it was 2012, so difficult is, they finally linked it to, it took a while, but they linked it to, I believe, cantaloupe. And many people, let's say they go to a breakfast place. You don't remember the garnish. Because when we do epidemiology to figure out, who was exposed to what, and so somebody gets sick. Like, okay, so what did you eat? Well, I might have gone to, this fast food place, and I might have cooked this, and, people don't remember. But how many people remember what the garnish was? And when you go to these breakfast places, there's like a little baby piece of cantaloupe or something on there. You wouldn't think about that. And I do eat it. I love eating my cantaloupe garnish. And I'm not saying that cantaloupe garnish is now at risk. That was years ago. But, these are things that a lot of people don't think about, and then they get exposed. And, yeah. So just be aware. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. All eyes are on this congressional meeting with President Trump and congressional leaders. The government shutdown could happen this Wednesday. And we know that Democrats and Donald Trump do not get along. And something like doing a continuing resolution to extend the funding you would think that'd be a slam dunk, provide for inflation, let's all move on. But unfortunately, people who are looking to get reelected think that they have to show some sort of a fight, and they have to try to say and build their resume off of any opportunity. Like, don't let a good crisis go to waste sort of thing. And so I'm concerned that it's gotten already to this where we every year have these headlines. Oh, there's going to be a government shutdown. People are going to be furloughed. Things aren't going to get done. People won't get their Social Security and benefits, and essential workers will still be working. But, come on, people. There has to be a better system. And so Trump, does not want to be dealing with BS at all, and let alone demands when it has, this isn't the time to try to put forth another bill. Well, we want to address immigration, and we want to, that's not what this is for. But unfortunately, we believe that that's what some of these congressional leaders are going to do. They're going to be like, well, we have you by the, cojones. And so we're going to try to get what we want. And then we can tell our constituents, you see what we did? We fought for you. And this isn't fighting for you if you screw around with our budget and not allow the government to continue to function. So apparently the deadline is tomorrow at midnight. Democrats say any agreement to extend government funding must also preserve expiring health benefits. And so I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about, because Obamacare is still the law of the land, and so if they're just continuing the current budget, I'm not sure what if they want to add additional things in there. I don't think Social Security and Medicare and these things I don't think they get cut in this. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. I'm not looking forward to to seeing them get on the camera and do their showboating. I am excited to see what happens with Trump and Netanyahu. Trump and Bibi Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, are meeting to try to finalize the end of the war on Gaza, to get those hostages home. Sadly, too many died, and to finally end the war, get Hamas out of control, free the Gazans and Palestinians who have been under Hamas control, find a better way for that area to be function, because Hamas has been running it, not Israel. And if Trump is able to do this again, should win a Nobel Peace Prize. Netanyahu, has already laid out what he needs, which Trump's in complete agreement. The hostages come home. Hamas is not in power, and they cannot hurt Israel or Gazans or Palestinians again with their antics. And I think that's reasonable. So hopefully we get some good news today on that. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So one of you had asked why I haven't brought up the newest addition to our family. Well, because I don't think my listeners care. I mean, we got another. We adopted another pet. This particular pet, I love her, but she keeps me up at night. This is why I always sound so sleepy. We do have a new pet. We finally agreed. Actually, we didn't agree. I don't agree on this name, but my son wanted to adopt a French bulldog, and she's 1 year old. She needed a good home, and we have a great home. You know, we have a couple cats. Now that Shaky Boo went to the farm, We're down to 2 cats, and we have another dog, Uzi. And my son's like, well, I want to adopt this dog. And I'm like, well, what are we going to call her? We could call her Whiskey, Rusty, something like that. Apparently, they decided to name her so stupid. Princess Snortia. I'm not done yet. Consuelo Von Chunk the Third. And I guess they had to update the vet with the new name, and the vet has the whole name listed. Not exactly sure where that came from, but that's the dog. It's a French bulldog. I think she's absolutely adorable, but when I was walking the dog, somebody took a look and said, I like good-looking dogs. Somebody had said that to me, and I'm like, thank you, but we don't adopt dogs based on, if they could be in a Lassie commercial, we adopt them because they need a good home. And I guess you don't like the way the dog looks. And she's a French bulldog. I think they're adorable, but yeah, I do understand how some people might not necessarily find them the most attractive. But the name, I don't think really helps in terms of the attractiveness also, because Von Chunk the Third, it also suggests that she's of a long line of Von Chunks. Not sure what that is. So anyway, she's a good dog. Bulldogs are kind of like pugs, where their breathing apparatus is a lot more stifled, and so I'm hearing she might need to have obstructive sleep apnea surgery. She's very snorty. She snorts a lot, and oh my gosh, she farts so loud. So she comes downstairs. I'm getting breakfast ready, and then she just sits. And it was the loudest. I don't know how I'm going to get sleep with this dog in the house, but it's our new dog. And once I'm a little bit more well rested, I'll sound a lot more enthusiastic about her. But I'm kind of exhausted right now, because that's what happens when you have a new dog. And even though she's only a year old, she acts like a puppy, which I don't mind. I like the puppiness because I like playing with them. But she's not potty trained. She's peeing in the house. And even though the other dog is trying to trade her, it's really interesting, by the way, when you do adopt, you do need to make sure the other animals, and I'm aware of this because we've adopted animals before, but they have opinions on the matter, and they will act differently as well. And they, if they don't think that you are heeding to their opinion or taking their opinion seriously, then unfortunately, they'll interfere with your sleep as well, which I have a problem with. So I had a meeting with all of them. The cats were like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not kidding you. We have another." And then they go, "This is who you adopted?" "Yes, this is who I adopted." "You have a problem with that?" So, and then you want to make sure. What's really interesting about multiple animals is you pet one, the other one jumps in. And I've been dealing with that for years. So we almost have to separate, divide, and conquer, and try to do rub tummy and the playing. You either try to play with them both, but they don't want to be played both at the same time. They don't like going on walks together. They want to have their own single mommy time. And it's all you could do is say I love you, but we had to adopt, and you guys just live with it because I need to go back to bed because I'm not sleeping with you. And the ridiculous farm we now have at the house. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So many of you are seeing these headlines about how these weight loss drugs not only can help people lose weight, protect their heart, protect their kidney function, maybe stave off dementia, but now may lower cancer risk. So everybody's really excited about this. As I've said before, I need you all to understand that there's, the weight loss will always come with amazing benefits. But I'm a little bit concerned for those patients who are telling me they rebounded. But, seeing that the GLP-1s are protected against cancer, the reason why is endometrial cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, many of these are weight related. And so fortunately, if we are losing weight, then that will lower our risk. Honestly, obesity, we don't call it the number one killer, but we're eventually going to, because obesity could lead to high blood pressure. Obesity could lead to diabetes. Obesity could lead to a stroke. Obesity could lead to, cancer, all of that. So, yeah, if you could fight the obesity, that's fantastic. Just how can individuals be on these long term? That's what we need to know. Researchers at Indiana University and University of Florida, according to Fox News, analyzed the incidence of 14 cancers in adults with obesity who were given these GLP-1s like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, and they compared them to cancer rates in non-users. The study was published in JAMA Oncology. They looked at health record data from 2014 to 2024, because if you remember, many of these medications, even if they weren't used for obesity, were used for diabetes. And of the 86,000 individuals sampled, 68% were female, and they found a significantly lower overall cancer risk. And they found a reduced risk of endometrial, ovarian, and meningioma cancers. They did, however, find an association with the GLP-1 use and increased risk of kidney cancer. Now, that is concerning because everybody and their mother wants to be on these medications. We have to be very clear about what the risks are. Now, researchers concluded that we do need a longer-term follow-up study to clarify these mechanisms. And I think it is great news that if you lose weight, you will have a lower risk of obesity-fueled cancer. But we do need to look at what this kidney cancer risk is and how significant it is, or was it, not causal or associative. So the weight loss decreasing our fat cells, decrease our estrogen production. Lower estrogen can then not fuel estrogen-fueled cancers. So it makes sense. Not to mention, obesity causes inflammation. So if we could reduce our inflammation, we reduce our cancer risk. Again, the problem I have is with all these studies that show, look at the heart health, look at the kidney health, look at the decreased cancer risk with people being on it. I think that's fantastic. But what I want to see are the studies of everybody rebounding. You're not seeing those. So when I have patients say, yeah, I had to go off the medicine because I couldn't afford it or we ran out and I want to go back on it, my insurance changed, where are those studies showing the accelerated risk of heart disease, cancer, etc., because people rebounded and gained the weight quickly? Now, I'm hoping there aren't any there's no data, but I'd be naive to think that that's not the case. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.